welcome to a new episode of Journey of a Christian Writer. In this episode, I'm going over internal conflict, the emotions characters feel, and how to show them. In previous episodes, I discussed how internal conflict is the inner battle within characters. Character emotion is one of the most important aspects of characters, whether they are human-like characters or animals, like in the allegorical novella Animal Farm by George Orwell. There are many different types of emotions that characters can experience when faced with different obstacles, challenges, or complications in the external story world. The Pixar films Inside Out and Inside Out 2 are good examples of the most basic emotions characters experience within a particular story. Here is a chart that I've put together of 7 generic emotions that characters experience, which include happiness, sadness, surprise, disgust, anger, fear, and love. From those, writers can broaden these basic emotions to more complex emotions by increasing the emotional intensity, as this table here shows. For example, for happiness, you can get contentment, gladness, delightful, joyful, and excited or excitement. The table displays the least intense in the lighter shades of color for each of the basic emotions, and the most intense emotions in the darker or darkest shades at the bottom of the chart. So how can writers actually show character emotion? Well, there are 4 basic ways that writers can do this. The first is by action beats or body language. This is all of the different things that characters do within a scene or story. For example, smiling, sitting in a chair, clenching their fist, all of the different types of actions or facial expressions that characters do within a story, or their mannerisms, is what action beats and the body language is. The next way that writers can show character emotion is by character dialogue. This obviously is what characters say within a scene or story. You can get really creative with character emotions to actually show characters' personalities as well. For example, based on your word choice or word usage, maybe a character uses slang or has an accent or is from a particular country. You can actually use character dialogue to show all of that, as well as to express the character's emotions. The third way is by internal monologue, which is what the character thinks and their thoughts. A good way to do this is to italize the thoughts so that they are separate from the narration of the story, so that readers know that this is something within the character that they are thinking of and not something that is verbally said within the external story world. I personally like to italize these thoughts, but some writers actually use the dialogue tag thought whenever they're mentioning a character's thought within a scene, but I think in some cases that can be a bit confusing, so I prefer personally to just have it italicized so that readers know it is something separate and within the actual character. And the third and final way, or the fourth way, that writers can do this is by emotional descriptions. This is where you actually make the emotion a character that a character is experiencing, or you describe the physical effects that a character is experiencing while they feel a particular emotion. For example, worry, fear, anger, happiness, you're describing how the emotion feels within the character, or you're making the emotion a character. An example of making the emotion a character is, for example, saying, anger thundered through John's veins, or worry snaked through John's heart. For example, you're actually describing the emotion as a character and giving it action. An example of just describing the physical effects that a character is experiencing could be John's knees weakened to show that he is nervous. Or you could say tears clouded within John's eyes or something to show that he is sad. But those are just some different ways of how you can use emotional descriptions. This is probably the least common way that writers actually describe and show characters' emotions, but it's a really good way, and it can help you prevent you from overusing action beats too much, because that's a problem that many writers have, and that I used to have quite a bit before I learned to incorporate emotional descriptions within my writing. A writing reference that I found really helpful with improving this was the Master's List for Writers by Brent Donovan, which I found very helpful. I'll have the book linked below if you're interested in checking it out. But it can be really helpful when it comes to describing characters' emotions, and it can allow you to come up with some of your own based on the examples that she has laid out in her book. But that's pretty much all for this episode. I hope it was helpful. I'm going to be doing Larwell in one more internal conflict episode before we move on to external conflict. But until next time, happy writing. My publishing company, Risen Halo, is now on Pango Books. Pango Books is an online platform where readers can get used books at discounted prices. Are you an avid reader? Interested in getting my Christian fiction books at discounted prices? Then follow my shop to get the notifications on special sales. God bless, and thank you for your support.